Hello and welcome to Walking the Earth podcast, where we explore the travel lifestyle. You can find us at WTEpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. We're on Facebook, Twitter at WTE Podcast. Plenty of ways to find us. For those folks tuning in for the first time, I am Mike Margulies. I am today in Baltimore, Maryland, and our guest for today is Shanna Crumley. How's it going, Shanna?
It's going great. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Shanna, you're coming in from Barranquilla in Colombia, or is it Puerto Colombia, actually, technically?
Technically, I live in Puerto Colombia, but today I'm Skyping in from Barranquilla. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So, all right, so Barranquilla it is.
Yes.
And so you are now in your second year of doing Peace Corps in Colombia.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I guess I'd love to hear you kind of expand that. I know you're working with sort of teaching English and some girls empowerment programs. And I'd just love to hear, you describe kind of what the experience is like for you and kind of stuff you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for those who don't know very much about Peace Corps, it's like a government agency of service worldwide, and countries are able to ask for volunteers for a particular sector. So maybe they want volunteers to come help with agriculture or with water sanitation, with women's health, whatever it may be. And so Colombia asked for bilingualism help. They're trying to get as many of the public school students just reinforced in their English skills, because it's like a direct benefit for jobs and for industry. Colombia is really up and coming right now. They're coming out of a really rough era, and so they're trying to expand trade and economics and growth in the region. So that's what we're here for. Our main primary sector project, I guess, would be teaching English for livelihoods. So we work with the English teachers themselves in their programming and their curriculum development and their pronunciation, just any little things that we can help the public schools catch up to the private school kind of level of excellence or whatever of English education. So Peace Corps is you have a primary project and then a secondary project. And so my secondary projects are other things that I want to do. So I've been doing projects in youth development and, like you said, girls empowerment, a little bit of culture. I learned how to dance to local dances. I learned how to play the drums.
Awesome.
So just a lot of random stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I guess there's kind of an exchange, right? So at the same time as you're sort of teaching English, girls empowerment, you're also, I'm sure, learning a lot yourself out there.
Oh yeah, they say it's one of those jobs that you're really here to change yourself, really. I'm here to help however I can, but I'm the one who's growing and expanding and learning and going through life lessons.
Yeah. So what are some of the ones that stick out to you? Life lessons or growth for yourself?
Oh, man. People come back and write books about the Peace Corps, what it did to them. Honestly, one of the things that I can think right off the bat is that I've just learned so much about patience and flexibility, because I'm living within a culture that's just very, very different from our own culture.
Right.
In terms of time just means something different, and success and happiness have a different definition here. So I've learned a lot about just being able to be patient and just step back and just go with the flow. That's their lesson here, just Hakuna Matata and stuff. So I'm learning.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah, I think I have the opposite problem these days, because I've been coming from getting used to the I have a backpacker lifestyle, which is more I think what it sounds like you're experiencing, where things are, you go with the flow in the moment. And now in the U.S., everything's in schedules, and so it's an adjustment for me coming back to the opposite way.
Yeah, exactly. It's honestly, it's challenging either way. Both of them have benefits and disadvantages.
For sure.
But it's challenging, and switching back and forth.
Yeah. You've been out there for how long now? A year and some change at this point?
Yeah, about we're turning 19 months in a couple weeks here, I think.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So you must be getting a little bit more acclimated to it, I guess, at this point, yeah.
Yeah, I'm finally at the point, the language acquisition, I'm finally at the point where I can get into trouble and back out of trouble. That's, the big key. And then I'm just, they say, the first year is all about settling into the community and figuring out what the people are like, and the culture and how the dynamics in the school you work with in the community and stuff. And then the second year is when you really get in and try to put things into place, whatever projects or plug into wherever the people are wanting you to help. So that's kind of the idea, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm friendly there.
that makes sense. Like the beginning, you have to sort of, establish your relationships. It says actually similar to what I talked with, I think, Supriya also, one of your friends, and so when I talked to her, it was a very similar theme. Like in the beginning, you want to establish the
Another Peace Corps.
relationships. Yeah, also she was that was our last episode, and she's very similar kind of situation. Her experience in the Peace Corps was right, like you're saying, you build up the relationship in the beginning, and then after you kind of establish it, you can, I guess, make build something, figure out where the needs are, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, there's been, if you know anything about like the history of development and international aid and stuff, like it's just been such a transition over the past couple centuries of, first you hand aid down, you send money to these poor people, then started to have like people on the ground giving things to poor people, like there's just been a really big progression. And so the last couple of decades, it started to be more of a focus on go into the community, figure out what they want, what they think they need, instead of what I think they need, and then try to work together. Our former director, he just retired this last year, but he used to tell like this parable or something about like the whole give the man a fish and or whatever, like give a man a fish, he eats for a day, give a man,
you teach a man to fish and he can how to fish eat forever.
Yeah, exactly. He says, no, we got to go a step beyond that. Like teaching a man to fish, like these guys are fishermen, for crying out loud. Like they know how to fish. That's not the issue here. It's more about, and he brings in another, like a Chinese proverb or something about just going in and like being with the people and listening to them, and then just letting them change you as well. We're not here to come in with the answers. We're here to come in with whatever resources and training we have and problem-solving skills we possess, but then we're here to contribute those to projects that the people want, that the people see is what's their focus. So it's actually more challenging than just coming in and giving a few, building a school and leaving or whatever. But I think it's, I don't know, I like it.
No, I mean, I really appreciate that attitude, because there can be that, I don't know, that what is the white hero tendency kind of thing, right? So come in and like, okay, we're going to show you how things, and that's all of history, right? You've got that happening. Oh yeah, we're going to show you how things are supposed to be and do this. But I think what you're talking about sounds like a really healthy approach. If you really want to help somebody, it's not coming in and like saying, well, here's how you need to do it. It's really kind of, it's not as easy. Like you're saying, it's difficult, but it's really kind of understanding, okay, what is the need? Like what do you need, and what can I do that's helpful to you from your perspective? And not kind of imposing something,
Exactly. I don't think we have all the secrets. I don't think it's the answer yet. But like, we're definitely. I like what the Peace Corps is doing in that direction. I think that we can definitely keep moving in that direction. Of figuring out how to, especially like our generation and the technology and stuff we have. Like we have more access to creativity and resources than we did before. I think to solve the same issues that have been just consistent. Like I think we need to keep looking for innovative ways to think about the issues,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Little by little.
We absolutely have this evolving world with the technology and that we have today. And I always get the thing I always talk about is like the internet in particular. For me, is one that stands out as like this obvious revolution in communication and everything that we have access to information that we didn't have access before, and so I think there's something, and coming from a place like we're Americans, and we're coming from a place where we understand how this works. We're very tuned into it, and we have access to all this information. If there's a way we can use our knowledge, information, skill sets to apply them and help folks that don't necessarily know all the things that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah. We just gotta.
I don't know if you're using the internet specifically per se, but that's just an example that comes to my mind. Ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean
technology.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess for you, what sort of in your perspective, what are the things that you're able to bring, that have been helpful as far as knowledge or skills and whatnot?
That's a huge, broad question, because I have a year.
I feel like it's like a job. I'm like doing a job interview right now.
Oh God, yeah.
No, I mean but yeah. I don't know. Well, I'm just curious, playing off of what you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think I think a lot of what we bring, honestly, like I was trained before I came here. Like, of course, we all have bachelor's degrees and stuff, and then we come in here and they give us a training, a pretty intensive training considering it's about 3 months in country, where they give us like resources for curriculum development, for classroom management, for ideas, for activities, and strategies for teaching vocabulary, just all kinds of English teaching stuff, but then also cultural and youth development and community development, like how to do assessments of community needs and how to set up groups and how to apply for grants and stuff. So there's some useful knowledge. I think it's been interesting, though, to see, like, as much as I understand how many resources I have access to, not just the knowledge that thereof, but, like, I have resources, like, there's all kinds of websites, and I know about all kinds of grants that are available, and I have the Peace Corps behind me, But getting that message across has actually been a really big challenge. Like, people, when you get into the town, you're just another English teacher, and so, like, you can help us because you're going to teach my child how to speak English, and that's the only thing that I offer, and that's what you know what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to I guess it's hard to communicate that I have all these resources and all these materials and all these ideas, and I just want to help. I just want to be here.
Right.
So it's frustrating. So honestly, a big thing that I feel like I've actually contributed it has been related to such, like, the retrainings and the resources and stuff, but a lot of it is just a different cultural perspective. Like, I work directly, like, collaborating directly side by side with the English teachers of a public high school in my little town. So I work directly with 5 all middle-aged mothers who are all teachers. And so we have just 2 different worlds. We have American, like, processes and punctuality and organization. I'm all organized, I want to have, like, documents organized and exactly, like, laid out for curriculum. And then you have Colombia, which is the opposite. So, like, they think in circles, and they plan, like, in the minute, and just, like, they show up to class and they feel inspired to do this today. And then you have, like, the generational gap. Like, they've been teaching English for 25 years, as long as I've even been alive, you know?
Right.
And so then you have those 2 different sides. And so it's been interesting just to learn how to communicate, I guess, interculturally, intergenerationally, and on a professional level. But what I bring to the table has been helping them, I think, to organize some. Because before they weren't using, like, they really wanted to use technology and stuff, and then they really wanted to be more deliberate with their lesson planning, like, to make sure it was more consistent with each other. Because, like, for example, one teacher teaches 6th grade grammar, the other teacher teaches 6th grade laboratory. And so, like, how do you get these 2 to be hand in hand so you don't teach, one day you're teaching grammar of, I don't know, greetings, and the next day you're teaching vocabulary of food. You want to try to have some consistency over the year so that they're moving forward. So just a lot of, like, coming in with resources and knowledge of like, how, like, structuring and stuff. It's been interesting. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. I mean, I think anytime, like you're saying, like, just the cultural difference, having a different perspective in itself can be valuable. I mean, I think for myself, just when I was traveling and immersed myself in a different culture, like, just being exposed to a different way of looking at things was helpful to me. And I think, I guess it sounds like you're experiencing a similar thing where, you're valuable to all these folks in the sense that you have a different perspective. And like you were saying earlier, and, like, at the same time, I'm sure you're also, by being yourself exposed to a different culture, you're in turn learning yourself. So I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I'm so much more relaxed. You wouldn't know it by looking at me because I'm still stressing out all the time, but, like, I'm so much more relaxed than I was because I came here from Washington,
I
D.C.
wouldn't know. You have a smile on your face on the Skype screen, so.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know, like, life lessons and personal growth are always slow, but I've learned a lot about how to just let it go a little bit. Nobody would believe me because I'm still very organized and very, like, trying to get stuff done, but it's better than I was before.
Well, I think there's a balance between that stuff, right? Like, to some extent, you want to be. I feel like I grew up with the same things, and I can relate to what you're saying. It's like, on one hand, I want to be organized and really make sure I get things done, but at the same time, I want to just let go a little bit and kind of go with it. There's a balance to strike there, I think.
There's got to be a good, healthy balance, and I think I mean, there's so many valuable lessons to draw from this culture because of that. Like in that vein of like learning how to prioritize the most important things. Like family here is just the top priority. Like you drop everything for family. You are never truly destitute because you always have family. Like if anything happens to you, like they're there for you, and it's just things like that you just realize like that should be a priority. Like that's beautiful.
Right. And I think in the U.S., I mean, there's definitely a differences there. Is in the U.S., right? When you grow up a certain age, you're expected to sort of now go and get your own thing, go your own place, get out, Whereas I don't know, I haven't been to Colombia before, but do people tend to live like with their families for until they get married or whatnot?
It's definitely that kind of culture where like in the small towns, everybody lives in the same house. You have aunts and uncles and great grandmother and nieces and nephews and granddaughters and everybody in the same house. And even in the city now, like it's growing up. As far as like it's much more modern minded. Like the people our age here are quite a lot like us, but they are still traditionally living with their parents until they get married.
Right. So it's very interesting. I experienced in Southeast Asia there was and India as well. It was similar in that sense. So it is very interesting because people that say our generation they have similar interests. They're very similar to say you and I in all these different ways, but they're also have a very different lifestyle in terms of like the family life. There is in some ways a much closer connection, with the family. People are, living together. Doesn't inevitably that's going to happen. Although I would like to think, I would say though, ultimately, if it came to it, my family is there for me still. Even though it's more conventional in the U.S., we all kind of do our own thing. I think at the end of the day, my family will still come and they support me at the end of the day. But it's different for sure. Definitely very different. In the day-to-day life, it's very different.
Yeah, I think the difference there is that we're, at least our society, like our culture is much more, how do I say it? Like, for me, I don't feel like people here are like, oh my God, don't you miss your mommy? Like, you haven't seen her in a year and a half. Like, how have you, But I don't because I talk to her every couple of days because I have Skype, I have Facebook, we email back and forth. Like, if I see an article that she think would be interesting, I send it to her. Like, I feel very connected. And I think at home it's the same way. Like, I lived across the country from my family, but we still talked a lot. Like, it wasn't the physical space that I needed as much as the emotional and like mental support, So I am supported by my family and they're supported by me. And like, I don't know, I think that's a difference because here it's very, like the culture's so now. And here, and it's very visual that it, family is a physical, like it occupies a physical space. Like you need your family literally next to you, not figuratively.
So like you're more, I guess, maybe folks are more inclined to, you're going to have connection to people that are physically here and now with you. Which I mean, my life would be so much more sad if it was that way for me all the time because I've lived all around the States and stuff, and like I have best friends everywhere, but I don't ever live in the same place as any of them. Like I have so many people that I feel very, very close and connected to, but I'm very rarely in one place very long. And so I guess maybe that's some sort of an evolution of relationships. Like a lot of my relationships are technically virtual. Right.
Thank you, Facebook.
A lot of mine as well. I mean, and that's kind of, I know in my situation, it's kind of inevitable no matter where I am in the world. There's going to be a large part of my important relationships that will be virtual because not all the people close to me live in the same place.
Exactly. You'll never have a home.
Well, I've got close friends in San Francisco, in New York, in Thailand, and so, there is, it may be the case, it may be the case that some of these close relationships have to be over, say, phone calls, Skype, this kind of thing. Although, on the other side of it, the experience I've had recently, there was a point in time where I kind of resigned myself to that. Like, okay, well, it's I'm going to have all my close relationships online so I can live wherever. And that's true, but at the same time, after coming home, in an interesting way, I got very much reconnected with home, and like home is here where I'm here in Baltimore. I don't know. There is still something, I guess, to being physically near folks. And even though I certainly can't be near everyone this close to me. It is nice, at least for the time being, for me to be, within a short drive to my parents or to a short walk to some of my close friends in the neighborhood and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
and you value that so much more the more you go away.
yeah, well, that absolutely. That's what was a bizarre thing that I didn't expect. Not bizarre, it makes sense, but the last thing I expected when I came back from this traveling around the world was, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go back to Baltimore. So, but I guess that's part of it. I don't know. You may or may not have a similar, experience when you get back from Colombia. I don't know.
Yeah, and actually, I went home for Christmas for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I went home to California, which is where I was in college. But then my parents live in Tennessee, so they actually drove out. So we had all of our family together, and it was just so nice.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just, not just the culture, just to be an American culture where, I can let my guard down, I understand how the system works, I know what to expect, but also just to be around those people that I don't have to, I don't know, one of the biggest things, I think, is having the benefit of anonymity. I hate that word, anonymity. Cinnamon. Whatever, but the thing is, here I never have that. Every day, I look so different from the people, the typical people, and even the non-typical people here. I am very vastly different. And as, the American or the gringa or the English teacher, I have a constant reputation. I'm in a glass bowl 100% of the time. And so that's a big thing about home, I think, going to California, was I can just relax. If I want to do something and people see it, they're not going to say, oh, all Americans do that, or all white girls are like that, or all English teachers, or all Peace Corps volunteers. I can just be me, and it's fine. You don't have that secondary sort of celebrity status to be worried about.
Right. That's really interesting. It's funny because for me, and it's just because I had a very different type of travel experience. I was just kind of backpacking versus doing a Peace Corps sort of thing. But for me, I actually felt like I got the anonymity when I was backpacking, oddly enough. Because when I'm home, I'm around, people. I have this, whatever reputation it is, people know who I am. They have an idea of me, and there's these established existing relationships. But when I was traveling, I was free to kind of be whoever I wanted to be because no one knows who I am. Which is, I guess, a difference between if you're kind of, vagabonding solo place to place versus kind of staying still and you're say the solo American person in, Colombia.
Small town.
So it's interesting. I guess different types of travel can lend themselves to either more or less anonymity. It's, I guess. That's really interesting, though.
A different kind of comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah. Although I think, for me at least, my experience taught me that anonymity that I felt traveling. I was able to bring back home with me now some of the, like I said, I was able to act more like myself in some respects. I was able to figure that out and maybe bring some of that back to these relationships. So that was a good thing. That's
a good point too. I think I've thought a lot about that here at home. We sort of have a bubble, I guess, of expectations and social norms and family and friends. Our comfort zone is such a bubble that being outside of your comfort zone or being someplace where you're not being watched every minute, based on, especially it's like at college where you're on the same campus or in high school where everybody sees you and you have a certain reputation, you're that person who does that thing or whatever.
Right.
But when you're traveling, you're able to reinvent that every 10 minutes. You just go to a new town and you can do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want. If you didn't like what you did or how you did it, you do it differently the next time. There's no record that, last year she's the senior that did that one thing or, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But at home, everybody's watching constantly on Facebook or in person or whatever for you to fit the social norms of whatever is the standard. I don't feel this pressure as much here to be doing whatever everybody else is doing because I'm literally in a different world. So I see the stuff that's happening on Facebook and I'm very in contact, but I don't feel as much pressure as I think I would at home to do whatever. It's funny actually. I'm such a girl in this respect, but we care so much about what people think, right? And I realize one of the biggest freedoms of being here is that I live in a culture where I'm already desirable just because I'm a foreigner,
right?
Or just because I'm a woman, and so I care so much less about how I look because if I'm sweaty, I'm still a sweaty gringa, they're people aren't going to change their mind about me based on seeing me sweat on the bus or something. either their opinion doesn't matter or their opinion is already affirmative. Does that make sense? I don't know.
No, that absolutely makes sense.
There's so much pressure at home.
There is a lot. I mean, yeah, there's definitely more pressure. You're surrounded by culture. There's certain expectations of you, and so if what if you didn't wash your hair one day or whatever it is, there's someone you might be worried, someone's going to notice this or whatever it is, versus when if you're abroad somewhere and you're in an environment where you're already so different, there's and
it's okay.
You have a lot more kind of freedom to operate in a lot of ways. So, definitely understand that.
Goes to the end of me too.
I skipped more showers when I was traveling for sure.
I'm the opposite. I shower 4 times a day now.
Wow! Oh wow! So you don't have to worry about sweating then, because you're constantly clean.
Well, no, al contrario. No, it's actually funny. When we first got here, they were like, when you move to your house, like, be careful, you're trying to help, try not to be a burden on these families, because we're supposed to live with host families. So all of us were like, oh man, okay, I'm going to unplug my electronics. I'm only going to shower once a day, because that's what Americans do anyway. I think we shower once a day mostly, and, after the gym
normally.
or whatever.
Some people shower more. Yeah, I think once a day is typical, I think.
Depends on where and how hot it is and stuff. But here, so we stopped, I mean, not all of us as a general rule, but, it was like, okay, I'm trying to be careful. I'm going to, be careful with my water usage and my electricity usage, whatever. And apparently somebody called into the Peace Corps office and was like, excuse me, but these gringos, they smell bad. Can you tell them they smell bad?
Wow. No.
And we were like, what? We're trying to save water. We were trying to be sensitive, to them. Right. And then they're, trying to be sensitive to us by not telling us, hey, gringo, you stink. But then it ended up being, this huge, uproar because, we all got offended because we thought it was all of us. And, I don't know, it was just, this intervention that they staged and stuff. But the outcome was nobody had told us that in the culture of the coast of Colombia, on a minimum, people shower at least twice a day.
Wow.
More likely 3 or 4 times a day, because here, it's all cold water. There's no hot water in this entire region. And so you just kind of do a rinse off. You get home from work and you're sweaty, so you rinse off. You're leaving to go to a party, you rinse off before you go. And so you're just constantly, I don't know, trying to reset the balance, because it is really hot and sticky and disgusting. But we had never been told that. And so we were thinking, oh, this culture needs us to, be careful with our water. And they were thinking, oh man, these crazy gringos are insulting our culture by not showering enough. It was just the craziest miscommunication. So I now shower 4 times a day, and I use way more perfume. I think I've gone through more perfume in the last 3 or 4 months than I did in a year before.
Wow.
Yeah, they coat it on. They coat it. You can smell the guys, especially. You can smell the guys 10 feet away.
Man.
But Alex isn't here, so we're good.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I do remember actually in Thailand a bit. There were folks would shower a lot, and maybe I was offending people.
You never know, right?
Because it's
they're never going to tell you.
It gets hot and people sweat, so people would tend to take a lot of showers. Some locals would.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Little culture
I was secretly
things.
offending people and didn't know it. Cool. Well, I'd be interested to know for you, Shanna. What's something you'd like to do in your life before it's all said and done?
Oh man, that's a big question. Actually, that's funny that you would ask me that, because this week I just did a lesson, an English class based on that question.
Oh, no way! Perfect.
Yeah, it's funny. I just wrote a blog about it too.
Oh, cool. We can link up to your blog for sure.
Yes, please. That'd be awesome. Follow me. I try to So my counterpart and I we were teaching future tense. We were trying to do a review of future tense with our advanced students. Well, advanced. Let's say older students, like the 10th and 11th grades. And so we said we want them to think about goal setting. Goal setting is not a big thing here. Thinking ahead is not. People say, "Oh, I want to be a doctor," but there doesn't seem to be a lot of steps in between. And so we were trying to kind of introduce the idea of hey, if you have a goal, you can set steps and you can be really specific in what you're trying to get. Because, I mean, at least in my culture and in yours and my culture, setting goals and plans and stuff is part of the key to success. It seems. So trying to get some of that, at least some of the dreaming across to them. So I made them. I'm not teacher that's embarrassing sometimes. I was like, okay, you guys, close your eyes. You know, do the little narrator thing. So, all right, if you had to do any, you know, if you had any dreams, there's no limits of money or whatever, and I don't know, whatever the limits may be, like, what would be one goal that you have? Like, not just to be a doctor, but to cure cancer, or not just to be, you know, to be a musician, but to be on that one stage in that one place, or whatever it is, you know?
Right.
And then I asked them to tell me, and some of them, like, it was so much fun to, like, see them just open their eyes and, like, oh, I mean, yeah, I guess if I think about it, I do actually want to do this or that or the other. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have students that they have, like, this dream to go to Australia. They want to learn Portuguese. One of them did say that they want to cure cancer because, I mean, why the hell not?
Yeah.
So I was asking myself the same question, like, what are some of those things that, like, I'm dying to do, but sometimes I put off, you know, but I want to do them before I leave and, like, or leave before I check out. Oh God, but the answer, I don't know.
Yeah, what'd you come up with?
Well, you know, it's funny. I guess, okay, so my dream job would be to be a photographer, right? Like a Nat Geo social photojournalist kind of thing. Like that's the stuff that really gets me excited, you know?
Uh-huh.
And so I would love to, just to be able to take a trip and make it just a photography trip, like a photojournalism trip, which I'm trying to do some of that here.
Awesome.
Do some more like interviews and asking people and whatever, but some trips like that, just storytelling. I recently got a hold of some friends here in town that one of my counterparts that works in one of these like foundations with me, a nonprofit. He is full Mokana, which is a local indigenous tribe, like in the little pueblo where I live. And he was telling me that there's no one who's ever written the stories of his tribe down. Like his was one of the tribes. There's a lot of little tiny tribes here on the coast that kind of like wiped each other out over various things. And I guess at one point, like one tribe sold their tribe out to the Spaniards, and they came in and just killed a bunch of people. And so his tribe is kind of like over the last few centuries has just kind of ceased to be relevant, I guess. I mean, there's lots of people that are Mokana, but nobody knows the stories. The language is kind of non-existent. There's no pride in the heritage and stuff. And so one of my dreams now is to go talk to his grandfather and start getting some of those stories down. So we'll see. We'll see if I can do that. But a little mini photojournalism thing.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Well, hey, also if you're up for it, feel free to take your phone and you can record an audio interview. We'll throw it on our podcast too.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
If you're so inclined.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting thing to do.
Kind of random.
So yeah, and so you have a blog that you're putting stuff on now. Yeah, what is your blog?
Yeah,
so folks can find you.
Yeah, it's called Pocket Philosophies. Pocket Philosophies, SIES.
That's a great name.
Thank you. It's pocketphilosophies.wordpress.com.
Okay, cool.
So right now it's a lot of Peace Corps stuff, and it's just, you know, it's all about this life of having a suitcase heart, I guess. Just trying to stay moving and learning and doing and yeah.
So you're writing and putting pictures, all kinds of good stuff on there.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah, we just did a post about body language here on the coast, because Latinos are like so expressive with their hands and their faces sometimes.
Yeah.
And so we did some little video clips of what each of the little things are and what they mean. So some fun things. If you want to learn how to point with your lips, go check out my blog.
Oh, I've heard about that. Actually, in the Philippines, they do that also.
In the Philippines, yeah.
Yeah. They point with their lips.
It's so effective. You've got to try it. I do it all the time now. It's so fast.
I would be happy to try it, but people would just think I'm nuts in the U.S.
Well, what a conversation
They'll think I'm just trying to, like, blow them kisses or something.
Something. I have, like, a seizure.
I picked up the head bob when I was in India.
Yes, I saw that one.
Oh, I love that one. I kind of lost it when I was gone. It took me like 3 weeks or so to actually figure it out, you know, because it means everything, you know. It's yes, no, maybe. So it's it's more about the full body language you're doing. But once I learned it, I just loved it. It was
funny.
Like the little.
It's such a weird thing. So it's not up and down or side to side. It's like this weird like.
Yeah,
I don't know. Shimmy.
Yeah, it's great. There's actually some videos of me when I was in India, and I got to a point like at the beginning I was doing it kind of not intentionally. I was doing intentionally to begin with because I was trying to learn it, and then eventually I got to a point where I was just doing the head bob, not even realizing it. And there's some videos of me like from my time in India where I'm head bobbing, and I look at it like, oh, what? That's me.
That's integration right there.
Yeah, it was great when I felt so good getting to that point. Like, yeah. So you do the lip pointing now?
I do the lip pointing. I do a little bit of like the nose stuff, but the lip pointing most of all. But actually, here's a little preview. There's an upcoming post we're gonna have, which is, there's a word. It's not an action or a body thing, but there's a word that they use here that's kind of like the head bob, where it just means everything. Like you can, depending on the tone of voice, the word is aha,
Aha.
with a J in the middle, right? A-J-A. But it can be like aha or aha or aha or aha. Just
right,
so many.
right.
And it could mean everything from like, what did you say, to I know you're cheating on me.
Right. It's kind of like, I think the best analogy we have in America is the word fuck.
Yeah.
Because that can mean everything. There's some comedian who did a bit about that, right? Where they was like, oh, it can be anger, it can be love, it can be happiness, it can be shock. And they went through all the examples.
It applies to everything. It's so useful.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very useful. Well, cool. Well, I'd be happy to. I will link up to your blog on the show notes that will go along with this episode.
Awesome.
So, Pocket Philosophies. Are there other places folks can find you, like Facebook, Twitter? Do you have a page or?
Yeah, Facebook. My Twitter is, and my Instagram. I link to the blog, but my Twitter is Pocket Philosophy, but with no vowels. So it's PC. Wait, hang on, I have to write it down. PCKTPHLSPHY.
Okay.
That's my Twitter.
Awesome.
It's a lot more complicated now that I try to explain it.
And you got an Instagram with your pictures as well?
Yeah, and Twitter, my blog, Facebook, and Twitter and Instagram are all linked up together, so they should be
cool.
Accessible through all of them. Yeah.
And what I'll do is what I do with all of our episodes is I'll compile all that stuff with all the correct vowels taken out or in or whatever. I'll throw that in with the show notes and blog posts that go along with this episode, so folks will be able to find your blog and all the Twitter and everything for you. And if you're folks listening who are looking for that can all be found at WTEpodcast.com. But yeah, that's please go there, check out. Sounds like Shanna, you've got some awesome stuff, so folks, please do check that out. Yeah, and thank you, Shanna. This was a really fun conversation.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And folks listening, you can hear more from Walking the Earth podcast if you subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Find us on Facebook.com/Walking the Earth podcast or Twitter at WTE Podcast. And again, our website is WTEpodcast.com. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. Thanks again, Shanna, for coming on for this episode. And we will catch you next time. Namaste.
Adios.
Next time on Walking the Earth podcast, Mike talks with Caitlin Bach, who recently returned from Indonesia, where she worked for OFI, Orangutan Foundation International, and helped abuse orangutans at a rehabilitation center. She shares her experiences while working there and also her experience in Indonesia. So check it out next time at WTEpodcast.com.